Practical Talk, URP Practical Talk. I'm your host, Pastor Wendell Jeffrey. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, Christian greetings, and thanks for joining me. Dr. Bandhu is me today, and also in the studio is a healthy, focused young man, and he's an activist, and I'm anxious for you to hear from them. But first, let's go into our segment, Talking Practically. It is quite clear that, or like a friend of mine like to say, it is pellucidly clear that the young people of Guyana have got to wait their turn in order to be featured in any kind of, or any substantial way in the halls of administrative power in this country. The current administration have no place for the young or youthful leadership. Either that, or that the backlog of the aged who have to be compensated for their party loyalty means that the youth of Guyana have no place right now in the administration. And notwithstanding that, the current administration seems paying to get the youths involved. Notwithstanding the fact that it was the youths who catapulted and carried this coalition to power. Where were the aged? Where were the aged? Where were the sexagarians and the subjudiarians when the young people were toiling in the rain and the sun during the campaign, busying themselves in order to bring about a change they envision? And now they have been slighted, pushed aside like last week's newspaper. They are hurting. I know they are hurting because I talked to many of them. Out there's a growing amount of frustrated, aggravated young academics. And even as the administration continues to slight the youth, the data is showing that Guyana has one of the youngest voting populations in the Caribbean. And this explosive cadre of young voters is growing more and more. In 2020, it will be more clear. And this government does not now provide the catalyst for them to move forward. And it is sad. It's a sad reality because Guyana has a large amount of young people, and our young people continue to suffer. And as a result of that, we're having a brain drain, a significant brain drain. After 40 years, Guyana continues to hemorrhage. Its most affluent, its brightest and brightest minds are leaving. And this fact seems so lost in this administration, and it was also lost on the last administration. The focus of the PPPC and the PNC coalition seems to be purely politically rewarding. It seems as though the academic qualifications of the young people will never be appreciated. The young people will never get the placement in proper government jobs. The youths of this country have very little hope as they move forward. The blue-collar crime rate is higher now than it ever was. The hopelessness of the youth is pervasive. And yet, despite of all of that, the only persons who seem willing to accept our young people and listen to them are the drug dealers, the career gangsters, and the pimps. And this is causing our best and brightest minds to flee. Those who can flee are fleeing Guyana in droves. The easy access to obtaining US visas and Canadian visas and the CSME program is providing an ample opportunity for our most needed people, young people, to migrate and develop other people's countries. The United Republican Party is saying that we are not going to continue to let that happen. We are not going to stay silent until something substantial is done for these young people. Guyana needs our young people. Guyana needs to reduce crime, and we need to provide employment for our young people. And the United Republican Party will not stay quiet. We will not shut up until some tangible efforts are made to correct this pervasive wrong. We will not stay quiet. We will not shut up until this administration and any administration works to alleviate this problem for our young people. And that's talking practically. Again, welcome. Melville,
to be here.
how are you doing?
I'm fine.
Cuthbert Melville, activist. And Dr. Bandhu, thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the program. I tell you. Dr. Bandhu, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Fine.
You're looking good.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we have a young man with us here today, Dr. Bandhu, Cuthbert Melville. He's an academic. He's educated. He's sharp. And you viewers will get a chance to hear him. So he's in the hot seat. We're going to shoot him from both sides,
Okay.
Right, Doc?
That's okay. That's okay.
Just by way of introduction, Cuthbert, tell us what is your a snippet of your political, or not of your political, or your views of the youths in Guyana. Just a snippet, and we're going to talk some more. But in a sentence or two, how do you, where do you put the youth by way of priority as is seen by the administration in Guyana today?
All right. Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Firstly, I agreed with everything you said prior to the question to advance me, and I don't want to entirely chastise our administration, current or previous, because a lot of what is being said should be partially attributed to us, youths. I do not
No,
think...
wait. Let me engage you. What do you mean when you say that you have to attribute some of the blame to the young people? What do you mean when you say that?
It is because we, by choice, right, would have chosen to move away from becoming actively involved in the decision-making and governance of our country. And this is because we have been detoured, and mostly because it is how we've been taught. From a very tender age, it has been the culture of our society to really propel partying and spending as opposed to learning exactly what politics is all about.
But let me, I'm tempted to challenge you because I know you're intelligent. However, because you're my guest, I'm really wanting to be nice to you.
You don't have to be.
I know you can take it. Cuthbert, one of the things that happens around election time that the governments do, both the past government and this administration here, and watch and see, mark my word, just around election time, they're going to bring in Buju Banton, they're going to bring in Shabarangs, and they're going to cause the young people to wind up and jump up. So to say that the young people need to take the blame when it is the adults who have to teach the young people, I don't know. I think that you have not yet taken off your gloves and you're playing it safe. But aren't the older folks supposed to teach the young folks? How do the young people know what to do if the older folks don't teach them what to do?
You're slightly misrepresenting me, From the inception, I said partially, right? Because as you would have rightfully said, a major part of the blame should be shifted towards the seniors, right? And it is their position in this society to really show us. But I guess what is really the issue, and not I guess, what is really the issue is that a lot of them have become so preoccupied with fulfilling their own needs or their own political gains that teaching the youths what is really necessary has not become a priority. And really, it has become more beneficial to them to keep us distracted.
Okay. So you're saying, let me not misquote you, or let me not misunderstand you. What you're saying is that the politicians have a vested interest in keeping the young people in this mood of frolic and gayetry while they enhance their political agendas.
Definitely.
Okay, and in addition to that, you're saying that the young people who fall for that are guilty.
You have to be guilty.
All right. So what? How do you envision the young people in Guyana moving away from this notion that the politicians want them to support them just by handing them free mega concerts and so on around election time? How do you, as a young intellectual, see a shift of that paradigm?
Well, first and foremost, I think what is needed is for every youth to have the awareness that politics is everyday life. We've been taught, once again, from a very tender age, that politics is just oriented or centralized to being a member of parliament or being a member of government, that it becomes such an intimidating thought that we stray away from it. But even the choices that we make, to not become involved in governance is a political decision. It's a political decision.
All right.
Correct. And we need to first understand the origin of politics. And really it came from a Greek word, through research, of course, polites, right? Which they got another Greek word from politikos, which is of citizens.
Correct.
And the state.
Correct.
Right? So the fact that you are a citizen, inherently, you're a part of politics.
Okay. And so you're saying that the way out of this morass of the cycle of using the young people only for their glorification and for their political benefit is for the young people to understand that whether or not they get involved in the political system is politics.
Correct.
So if you don't get involved and you don't become activists, then you are still being involved in politics.
In a damaging sense to your nation, because to choose not to be involved, right, you could be denying your nation a critical decision that might have probably changed the outcome of a lot of what is going on, right? So many of the youths today have chosen not to vote, not to become active in governance or political decisions, because they do not think that their decision has weight.
Okay.
Well, but can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do youth expect to have a change if they keep themselves away from this?
Well, that comes back to the awareness. It is the responsibility. I think I have to go all the way back to Michael Jackson. It might sound a bit primitive, right? But it starts with the man in the mirror. And it sounds very cliche, but really and truly, we need to have that awareness. It needs to start with us. I'm not a politician, right? And for the better part of my life, I didn't want to become or get involved in politics. I was just as, I don't want to use the word ignorant, but was just as unaware as my fellow youths. I didn't want to touch politics. But I realized that it's not going to happen. The change is not going to happen if I don't step forward.
You talked, and as we bantered about, you moved the discussion to another level. You said that as you're looking around the politics in Guyana today, there need to be more technocrats involved in politics, and especially in the placement in the ministries and in certain positions. What do you mean? Develop that point.
Well, Mr. Jeffrey, I'm glad you asked that question. You're pretty on point. Now, we've noticed in the previous administration as well as the current administration, and really and truly what we basically have is history repeating itself. I think philosophically that's the definition of insanity, right? Wanting a change and
doing the same thing.
Doing the same things over and over again, right? So we have persons that are being assigned to critical positions who are not by academic qualifications or experience qualified for that position. Now, take for instance our current Minister of Health. I mean, I'm not bashing her. Professionally, she's well accredited, she's well qualified. But if we really look at her qualifications, she is by profession an accountant.
Okay. Now, I have the same concerns, of course, but when I engage the movers and shakers at the administrative level on a point like that, for instance, what I hear is that what is needed is not a person who is au fait with the particular ministry or the needs of that ministry. What is needed is somebody who has the ability to administrate, so that you could now, as the example you cited, you can now put an accountant to administrate medicine or the health sector when that person really brings no significant expertise to the table. You understand what their argument is?
Yeah.
So can you, or do you, how do you counter that if you can?
I would not try to counter that directly. If you're doing it, then it brings me to another and more important point. Now, there are 12 principles to good governance, one of which is transparency.
Okay.
Right? So, and accountability. Now, if that is what that is your intention, then that should be conveyed to the Guyanese populace in such a way that they're able to understand that this is what is best for this sector, and not have the Guyanese populace, because that is what politics is. Essentially, it comes back down to perception, right?
Okay.
So if we're not able to get the answer, and the same was seen with the budget, right? A lot of people don't know what the budget means or what it has to offer them, right? Or if it has anything to offer at all, right? Because there's no transparency and it's not communicated. So maybe it is best to have her there.
Let me deal with this. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that there is no transparency, or are you saying there's a lack of communication? Because the two might be different. You're saying that the government needs to come forward and show its hand and say to the Guyanese people, look, we have some presumably square pegs in round holes, okay? Presumably, right? That we don't have, for instance, we move a doctor from the Ministry of Health and put an accountant. And we put the accountant there. This is what I'm wondering if you want the government to say. We put the accountant there because the accountant is a good manager. Do you want them to say that, or do you prefer, for instance, should they have elevated the junior Minister of Health, Dr. Karen Cummins, to the substantive minister of that, or should they have found another person who is trained in the area of medicine? So is it that you're saying it's not transparent, or you're saying that they need to explain what they're doing?
Well, you're absolutely right, right? I realize that you did have to ask a question, but you're right when you said that they're different, but one is part of the other. You need communication and transparency, right? So if we're to be transparent, if they're to be transparent, and that is what they truly intend to do, that is put her there because she is best at management, right? Me, on a very small level, I would not be able to say whether or not that is what is best for that sector. Right, so they would need to show us, right,
by way of communication.
By way of communication,
okay.
And management that is the best decision that is for that sector. Let
me bring in Doc. Let me bring you in, because Doc, you have a policy and a philosophy too, where you think that especially in the area of financial management, because you have spoken about this when you go out to do your political campaigning and so on. I hear you say from time to time that politicians need to be either they should bring some level of expertise to the table, or if there's a lack of that financial know-how, they haven't been in business, then there should be some formal training. Because when you put these ministers who have not managed significant amount of monies, I heard Dr. Norton say that they're moving from a ministry with $30 billion and put him in a ministry with $10 billion, or he made some comparison. So obviously there's a lot of money that has to be managed. What's your take on what Cuthbert is saying as to the need for the ministers to be technocrats and not necessarily politicians alone?
He's totally right, because you must have some experience in whatever you're doing. You can't take, because a person is an accountant, you'll take them to run a ministry. Every ministry have their accounting section, right? So the accounting section can take care of that, but you must have knowledge of that ministry. If it's health ministry, if it's labor ministry, whatever ministry it is, you must have some kind of idea about labor or health or what before, not because you're an accountant or because you are a party comrade, you should get that job. We have seen this all the time, not only in this administration, all the other administrations we see it too. We always put square pegs in wrong hole.
And we borrow a lot, at least from the remunerations that come from the international community, Canada and the United States and so on. But we see what's happening now to the persons who are aspiring, who were chosen by Donald Trump to fill certain positions. At least there is some semblance of a vetting. Okay, we have Ms. Voss, who is supposed to be the over education there, and she's getting a lot of blows because she cannot answer some of the basic questions. And I'm saying that if we're going to, of course, our political system, our force, as far as the post vis-a-vis the proportional representative do not allow for that. Our political construct don't allow for that. But what I'm hearing is that as the need to remove, to get the minister up to some kind of technical expertise that is there, or there need to be some kind of vetting. Let's run. We're running out of time here very quickly. Mr. Melville, who is in the hot seat today, talk a little about your the notion you have as it pertains to the decentralizing of government that does not now obtain in Guyana. What's your take? Explain to your young viewers what do you mean? Excuse me. What do you mean when you say that government needs to be, the management needs to be decentralized?
Well, I want to start with a quote. Basically, everyone knows absolute power corrupts absolute. In saying that, we realized that, and it was reflected in the budget as well, that there's a bureaucratic red tape, right, in a lot of our ministries and the way they function. It basically lends reference to power being held at the top, decision making being held at the top, and not being filtered down to the appropriate individuals. I want to use, just for understanding purposes, the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, there is a middleman who's responsible for basically allowing the average man to do his farming and trade internationally. However, the middleman then has to answer to, because the Ministry of Agriculture is under the Ministry of the Presidency, he has to answer directly to the Ministry of the Presidency.
Okay.
Right? Now, that basically eliminates that middleman. Now, it may seem like micromanaging. I don't want to say that our government.
It is micromanaging.
Right?
Okay. So
don't be technical. It is micromanaging.
All right. Well. I saw that as his designation, it says youth activist, right? So I guess he's becoming politically correct. But what I'm hearing you say, Cuthbert, is that if a ministry has to pass through the Ministry of the Presidency, or if the person at the ministerial level have to answer to another body, then it does not allow for the free flow of information. It does not allow for the kind of interaction or the growth that will be necessary, because then it eliminates that the person who should have the final decision-making power. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and even more, right? It's limiting. It's hurting the economy and our society, because then because power resides with the state once again for the agriculture sector, which is a major revenue earning sector, because it resides with the state, then a selective few, right, of course, being beneficial to that political party that is in power, only they will be allowed to then develop their businesses in the line of agriculture while others are left to stifle.
Well, let me tell you what I've noticed. What I've noticed with the ministries that have fallen under the office of the presidency, they were, most of them are pure politicians. So, like you have Minister Felix, Ministry of Citizenship, right? That falls under the Ministry Office of the Presidency. And that is because, what does Minister Felix know about? You understand? So I guess it's a way of controlling the ministries that are not clear in their designation or their definition. But I want to agree with you though, Cuthbert, because what I saw happening at the local government, I ran as an independent candidate in the local government elections. And what I saw is that central government came in, and the president and the prime minister, they went to several places in Georgetown, they went to Bartica and so on, Linden, and they brought the big gun of central government, and they inserted it into the local government elections. So you had all the money that came with that. They were able to bring all their supporters, and it created an unfair balance to independent candidates like myself, because you can't compete against the government financing.
Correct.
You see. And what has happened now is that you have these local NDCs and at the local government level, and it's being micromanaged. That's the word Dr. Vishnu would like us to use. It's being micromanaged by the central government. So if you look at what's happening in Georgetown, there's really no objectivity to how the city is being run, because you have a governmental minister, Minister Balkan, who answers to central government, through whom things have to be channeled. So again, you see that the possibility for the absolute corruption because of the access to absolute power is visible right at what's happening. I guess is the point you're making.
Well, definitely, and it becomes more eminent and present when we look at what is currently taking place in the city, right? So I'm glad you raised that point. When we look at Smart City Solution, now, a lot of persons. Now, before I jump into that point, I'm not cutting myself. But before I jump into that point, now, Smart City Solution is not bad. It is doing what it's supposed to do. It eases congestion. It really modernizes the city, and we need development if we're to ever reach to, a first world country stage, right? It's a process. But the genuine issue with that is that it was done in a dictatorship manner, right? Where there was limited consultation with the general public, so it was forced upon. I mean, we elected a government who advocated against these things, right? So we then have a case whereby, and town council is supposed to hold meetings with the general public, but because once again the central government influences local government, right? It's a case whereby a selected few were invited, a few of which does not have the general public's interest at heart.
All right, good. Cuthbert, we completely out of time. I want to thank you. I've got to bring you back because I want to pick your brain some more. You're very smart, and I want to thank you so much for coming. Dr. Vishnu, thank you so much for coming. Viewers, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We're completely out of time. See you next week. This same station, this same time. God bless you. God bless you, and God bless Guyana. Thank you so much.
A new vision.